We've all been there. A user submits a complex request to your app, like a heavy coding task or a multi-step logic problem, and your UI just drops into a black hole. You show a generic loading spinner, the seconds tick by, and your user is left wondering if your app crashed or if it's actually working. What if you could transform that idle waiting time into a transparent, engaging user experience? By streaming Gemini's thinking process directly to your front end, you can show your users exactly how the AI is breaking down their problem in real time. I'm Rosário from the Firebase team, and in this video, I'll show you how you can tap into Gemini's thinking process for transparency and to provide a better user experience. So, let's dive right in. My team and I have been working on a meal planning app that uses Firebase AI Logic and Gemini models to generate recipes based on a list of ingredients. In one of our recent videos, Peter implemented a feature to detect a dish and generate its nutrition facts from a picture. It works well, but what if you could also see what the model is actually doing during those few seconds of loading? I have our meal planning app open in Antigravity 2.0 and I'll prompt it to add thought summaries to the loading animation.
A few tokens later.
Now that it's done generating, let's take a look at the main code changes. The model initialization has been updated to include a thinking config, which sets include thoughts to true. This tells the model to return thoughts in its response. And then, as the response is being streamed, we separate the thoughts from the actual response and display both of them in the app's UI. Gemini automatically adjusts the amount of reasoning effort based on the complexity of the user request. But what if you need to keep the latency low, or, on the other hand, need the model to tackle a difficult coding problem? In that case, you can control the thinking behavior by specifying the thinking level parameter in the thinking config. Possible options include minimal, which, as the name suggests, will cause the model to think minimally. This is the closest to disabling thinking. Low, which optimizes for latency and cost. Medium, which is the balanced option for most tasks. Or high, which maximizes reasoning depth. The model may take significantly longer to respond, but the output will be more carefully reasoned. If you use function calling, another concept you might have run into is called thought signatures. Thought signatures are encrypted representations of the model's internal thought process and are used to preserve reasoning context across multi-step interactions. If you use the official Firebase AI Logic SDKs, you have nothing to worry about as the SDK handles thought signatures automatically. You only need to work with thought signatures when using the REST API or if you are manually extracting and returning parts history in multi-turn conversations. I won't cover them in this video, but you can check out our documentation to learn more. When thinking is turned on, response pricing is the sum of output tokens and thinking tokens. You can get the total number of generated thinking tokens from the thoughts token count field. Note that the models generate full thoughts to improve the quality of the final response, and then only output a summary. So pricing is based on the full thoughts token the model needs, despite only the summary being output from the API. With everything in place, let's run the app and take a look at the thinking process. Okay, here's a Parmigiano. Well, not a real one. My producer wouldn't let me bring hot food into the studio. But this will do. And now we can see the model's thought process as it analyzes the picture and tries to determine the calories and macros of the Parmigiano. And that's it! With a couple of lines of code, we were able to control the model's thinking and make it transparent to the user. The level of thinking you allow a model to do before it generates its answer has an impact on the quality of the answer, so it's important to consider the complexity of the question. If you grant a generous thinking budget for relatively simple tasks, the model might overthink. If you're unsure, you can go with the default and let the model decide how much thinking is appropriate. Thought summaries are a great way to provide insight into the model's thinking process. On top of that, they're also a good way to keep the user engaged as they wait for the model's final answer. As always, the source code for this video is available on our GitHub repo. Don't forget to subscribe to the Firebase channel on YouTube and give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.